So, my name is Jess.
My name's Lola B.
And welcome to another episode of the Taboo Table.
Ooh, we're back.
We are back. Yeah, we're back. How was your day?
Long.
That's like one of the most mundane introductory questions, but how was your day? How are you feeling?
Good day today. Not feeling too good.
I know you had a hard time yesterday.
Yeah, hard time.
Tweeting from your hospital bed.
Tweeting from the hospital bed. You know how it goes.
Dedication, honey.
To get back out.
Yeah.
It's money.
So, this episode is a bit of a, I don't want to use the obvious word, it's a bit of a difficult one.
Very difficult. Story time.
It is story time.
Story time.
It's probably one of the episodes, although, you know, the aim is to talk about things that other people can relate to. It's probably one of the episodes that I know people can relate to, but I would always hope that nobody can actually relate to it.
Yeah.
You don't want to even think about somebody else having gone through something like that.
Do you need any tissues before we start?
I mean, let's see how we get on, girl. My lashes are pretty glued on tight, so let's just keep it that way. So do you want to introduce the topic? Do you want to tell us what we've got on today?
I feel like this episode is very important because I feel like this year, especially this year, I feel like a lot of people this year have been coming out more with their sexual abuse and sexual assault stories.
Right.
And yeah, I remember I was telling my therapist, I was like, going through it, I was like, it's a bit triggering, especially for people that have already been through it and have to constantly see all that. But I just feel like, I guess more and more people are just feeling frustrated and tired by the results they got, maybe from CPS or the police and stuff. So I thought it's important to bring, you know, sexual abuse, molestation, and rape to the table.
Just on Twitter, actually, that was probably a time where, for the first time, I felt like the internet had run me off the internet. I'm not somebody who normally feels like I have to get away from social media or anything. I've always thought it's a battle of the mind. So so long as I can tell myself this is just
then
people,
it doesn't bother.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't bother me. But I think this is one of the topics where I looked at it and I saw comments coming in and I heard stories and then I was like, okay, mental health check. This is where I need to log out. And take some time. And then talk about it, bring it to the taboo table and hash it out, and you know, so
where else if not?
So
and even going through social media, I remember you made a post and just talking about everything you've been through and obviously your chronic illness. And when I read the caption, I was like, because I know we've spoken about mine, I had a sexual assault situation.
Right.
And I was like, I never knew you've had your own experience. So that was really like, wow, okay. I was like, what happened?
I know. So obviously we've known each other for a couple of years. About 10 plus years. And it's something that very, 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 very limited people know. Because it's not something that you go around making friends and then telling straight off the back. And it's something that it's taken me about 2 therapists to even get to the point where I'm, you know, comfortable with sharing a story. But if I'm going to share it anywhere ever again, it's going to be on the taboo table, you know, where people can listen and hopefully get some kind of, you know, healing from it. So the story is that I was obviously born here. In London, in the UK, and then I was 6 months.
Where did this happen?
Right, so it's Ghana.
Okay.
So I was 6 months old when I was taken to Ghana. I was taken to Ghana by my father.
Okay.
And I stayed in Ghana till about 7, 8, if I remember correctly. So my father left me with both my grandparents. Right. And my grandparents, they live like roads across from each other.
Okay.
So I was predominantly with my mum's mum. And they're both late at the moment. So for me, it started, I would say, closer to the time when I was coming back to this country.
How old were you then?
if memory serves me right, I was about 6, 7.
Okay.
And I think it's important to note the age, because certain people believe that at that age you don't remember things like that. But I can tell you very, very well that my memory is very, very sharp. I remember it, and I remember it well.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very religious household in Ghana. We were like devout, Roman Catholics. And every year there used to be this event where they would like follow, I don't know, the Stations of the Cross, right? If you're Catholic, you know what I'm talking about. And they would do it, and they'd go up a mountain, and they would there was like a church service mass at the top of this mountain. So it was literally like a whole journey. You'd take it by foot. Yeah. And I remember the first time that this happened. For whatever reason, by the time I woke up, the family were gone. I was left with the house girl. Okay. Who she'd always back me, like me and her. I thought she was my mum at some point. So I was with her, and my whole family had kind of gone to this, religious event. So I was with the house girl, and then my abuser, right?
Who was this person?
So this person is a family member. Okay. Okay. So he came, and he was like, oh, how come she didn't go to, whatever event? And she was like, oh, she woke up late, and, she's just been sitting here bored with me. So I'm just going to say the guy, because the abuser's long to keep repeating. But he was like, oh, let me take her to her other grandma's house, because he comes from that side of the family. Yes. And I know my family. I know we look alike, whatever. Yeah. So at 6, 7 years old, when your family member's like, let me just take her to her grandmother's, I was like, yeah, I was happy to go. I'm a child, I'm going to go with this person. So so
you were already familiar with this?
Yeah,
with this person.
I know them. We've all grown up together, and so the house girl was like, just take her, and just make sure you bring her back. So he's taking me to my dad's side of the family, and again, it's just across the road. By 13 years old, I was crossing that road, it's just right next door to each other. So we've gone to the other side of the road to where my dad's family are and whatsoever. Now, the very first time, do I remember it crystal clear? I don't, because it wasn't something that obviously happened once. It was over a course of time, okay. Right? So this person was probably in their, I want to say 20s, early 20s.
And you were 6, 7?
I was 6, 7. I was 6, 7. We've gone over to the other side of the house, and again, that house was empty because, my grandparents and the whole family, they're up the mountain having the mass. So, like I said, I can't tell you, I really can't, because the other thing you have to understand is that when things like this happen, there's some type of blockage sometimes when you try and think back to that memory. So really I remember bits really, really, really sharply, and then there's bits where I'm just like, oh, actually, did that happen? Did that not? Yeah. So that was the first time that this person sexually abused me in my grandmother's house. And it's one of those compounds where it's like a circular compound. You know, we didn't live in a rich part of Ghana. It's like a village. It was a village at that time. Okay. So it's just a circular house, and then there's rooms all over. And so that was, I guess, the room that he stayed in. Okay. In that house.
Were you two just alone in the house at that time?
Well, in that room, because when you're in the room, nobody knows that you're actually in the house. There's 2 entries. There's entry from inside the compound, and then entry outside. We went in from the outside. Okay. So when this has happened, as a child, you don't know that that's what's happening. You don't know what this person is telling you is wrong, or it's immoral, or you can feel that something's not right, but what you don't know is that it's sexual abuse, or you are being violated, or the person's taking advantage of you. And I just remember him saying to me, oh, "Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody." And so, I didn't tell anybody. Yeah. He took me back to the house, and then kind of passed me over to the house girl. or whatever. And then he was just, oh, you know, she's been good, blah, 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 blah. And then he's gone. And then it basically proceeded every time that he would basically come past the house. So I don't know where he was coming from. I don't know if he was coming from work. I don't know where he was coming from. But I know that this person always used to pass our gate to go to my other grandmother's house. And so...
And obviously he knew the family well because he knew what
he's part of the family.
To visit.
Yeah, he's part of the family. And even he was brazen enough that even if there was people in the house, he'd just be like, oh, mommy, like that's what they would call me back home. He'd be like, oh, mommy, like Yanko. He'd be like, oh, let's go, whatever. And it's so weird because I actually remember there was times where I would see him and then I would actually walk to him. Yeah. When I think about it now, I'm just like why? But at that age, you don't even know what you're doing is right. You're just an adult who's telling you to, you know, come. So that went on for, this is, again, what I don't know is how long. I know it wasn't a day, I know it wasn't 2 days, I know it wasn't 3, I know it wasn't just a week, it went on for quite some time. Okay. To the point where I got quite sick. And I remember I started bleeding, like really, really badly. I started bleeding, I started getting really, really sick as a child and no one could figure out what it was. Yeah. Like I remember my grandmother was panicking and they thought it was, you know, which blah blah, something's happened.
Like juju or something.
Juju, because it just wasn't normal that a child should be bleeding so much from down there. Okay. And at one point they actually thought that a girl that I used to play with, they actually blamed her. I remember they actually blamed her. They thought that she had done something to me. She had put something up my, you know, my vagina at some point, and I didn't even know, having the checks, that that's what it was related to what this guy was doing. Yeah. And I remember, you know, they had already told my parents back here. Yeah. And they were just, I guess, sending money for me to be taken to the hospital. And I just remember, like, going to the hospital appointments and then, you know, doing something down there that was hurting, it was painful. Even as a little child, I just remember I feel like I was being pricked. I don't know what they was doing, but I just know that it was just a horrible, painful experience. And so...
Did the hospital know you had been?
If they did, they certainly didn't tell you, anybody. Yeah, okay. And I honestly, even if they did know, they didn't...
They didn't do anything about
Africa's ignorant. I'm sorry. And when you're raised in the village, it's even worse. They don't have the capacity to kind of see that a child's been abused or hurt at that point. We're talking about, you know, 20 odd years ago. And I don't think my grandmother knew. I don't think there was anywhere. You know, she would have said something. Yeah. I don't think she knew. So. Fast forward, this continued all the way up until I think my parents decided that it's time for you to come back, right? So it was almost, and at that point I didn't appreciate the timing, but I remember I was getting really, really, really sick, and it was almost at the same time that my grandma was like, oh, you know what, like your parents want you to come back to London. So fast forward. I'm now in London, and then here I am, you know, in London, living my new life. I'm growing up year by year, whatever. And then one day I'm sitting down watching TV because I love these documentaries. I love these, you know, these type of stories. You know, these series. And then I'm watching something that I shouldn't have been watching at my age, and it was about molestation. It was about child sexual abuse, whatever. And when they were telling the story, I swear to God, I was like, huh?
You just realised that something wrong had happened.
That sounds like what happened to me. Yeah. And I don't think people ever understand that sudden feeling of violation. Yeah. When you finally
get a wave of understanding that this is
crazy. It was just mad that it was that took me to kind of turn my head and was like, hold on. This is exactly what I've been through. And so what you're telling me, that was wrong. this was bad, this was illegal, this was, this was not normal. And just to put it, so just to be 100 with you, that fucked me up. That fucked me up.
Yeah. Of course it would.
Yeah.
At that point in time.
Yeah.
Did you, when you finally realised that something extremely bad happened, did you feel to, was your grandma still alive at this point?
Yeah.
Did you feel to bring it up?
No. She was alive, but I wasn't with her. I was in my new family setting. I had my mum, I had my dad.
Yeah.
It never ever, no. I wouldn't dream of picking up the phone
to tell her.
There was no way. I wouldn't be able to find the words. And unfortunately, where I was now was not a safe place for me to. Do you know what I mean? I didn't. There was nothing, or no one there for me to be like, oh, I need to talk to you about this, or this has happened. So for a lot of years, what I did is I just bottled it up, and I just kept it inside, and I didn't speak about it, and I just kept trying to make sense of it, and I kept trying to piece it together, and I just kept replaying the situation over and over, because I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it was crazy.
You said it messed you up. Do you feel like what effects?
I think the worst thing was that I was going through it alone.
Yeah.
In that, yes, it's happened to me, but I also didn't know where to turn to seek for help.
You didn't know anyone else.
I didn't know anybody else.
Yeah.
Not even having experienced it, but I also didn't have somebody that I could be like, oh my God.
A safe space.
Yeah, this has happened to me like this, because this person is still very, very much alive. They're still roaming the streets. They still very much believe that, I don't know, I don't remember, I was a child that they've gotten away with it to this day. So it's like, it was very isolating. It was hard. It was hard to mentally process, and it was a struggle for years. And do you know what I didn't know? And the only thing that helped me kind of understand, is having had therapy, was that everything I was doing was, in effect, like it was cut. There was an undertone of that abuse. Playing in the background. Everywhere I went, moved, relationship, life, friendship, whatever.
It affected you.
It was there. Yeah. Even though I didn't make the connection, there was an undertone there, playing in the background somewhere. You don't know until you kind of share that with somebody. In the middle of therapy, and then they're like, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, that your childhood is so connected, and then it's super, super clear.
And there was no way to really, because you know what they say like some kids that have been through sexual abuse, they won't go to that person. But like you said you didn't know anything was wrong at that time.
At all.
So even when he came to the house, you was still, you acted normal.
Yeah, exactly. And this person had already told me, don't tell anybody. Yeah. And so as a child, if I...
Yeah. It's a secret.
It's a secret, exactly, like they do. And I think I became obsessed with learning more about it, because I was like, everything that these shows were saying is exactly what this guy did. You hear about the predators and the abusers telling their victims, don't tell nobody. Yes. It's our little secret.
It's our little secret,
and children buy into that.
Yeah.
They're innocent, they're pure, so they don't tell anybody.
Or they buy you things.
That's it. That's it. And what's been a struggle for me over the years is that this person, I've had to be around them. When I've gone to Ghana and we get together, the reason why he's still walking and he's still very confident is because he thinks that I can't remember. Do you understand? Because I was just a child. And so he's still very much around the family. And I remember there was a time that we went back, my little sister will never know this, we went back and he was in our family house. And I remember I was speaking to my little sister and he came and put his hand around her. And I thought I was going to vomit. Yeah. Because the flashback was just, angry, I was so angry, so angry. And I remember he was telling her to, come, and she was much older than what I was, but he was telling her, come, let's go play some games in one of his rooms. And I was just like, no, she's not going nowhere. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And my sister was just like, oh, no, it's fine. And I was just like,
no.
what have I got to say so she gets it? But obviously she's not. So it's been things like that where it's like the trauma is constantly there.
Yeah.
There's a reminder because this person hasn't seen any kind of justice. They haven't kind of been punished or, you know, not punished, but, you know, they haven't kind of had to deal with what they've done. And then it's been me who's had to kind of go through.
Of course. And even if you work, I mean, first of all, therapy doesn't help everyone.
No.
And even though it was so long ago, you would still have, like, it will still shape your adolescence. It will still shape how you grow, like you said.
Absolutely.
You still have traumatic experiences or memories about it. How do you feel like, do you feel that experience has shaped who you are today?
I think it's been a huge part of who I am today. If not, it's probably been what's made me who I am.
Yeah.
Because up until I even knew that there was an issue, I think I was more of a very reserved child, and it made me angry.
Yeah.
It made me very, very angry, and it just made me just angry about everything. Everything. And it was more than just what happened. It was what I couldn't do after I knew what happened. It was like, I can't talk to anybody. I can't.
It's like
there's no
silence.
It was just it was crazy. And then it was like you go back home and your dad's like, oh, give him money, and I'm just like, everyone just needs to stop.
Yeah.
You know, one, bringing this person around me, two, trying to, it was too much. It was too much, and I was too young to have any control over any of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's shaped who I am even as a mother.
Yeah.
And you know, the
conversations,
the conversations that I've had to have with my child, and the anxiety I even had when Jar was turning, you know, that age 7, and I was just like, I need to tell him.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody, you know, I need to have that talk with him. I can't wait for him to go through anything. I can't wait for him to get to secondary school before they start telling them about their privates and you know, all these boundaries. And so,
so that made you teach him about boundaries early.
I found myself being the mum that's sitting him down and trying to have this difficult conversation, and him not really even understanding why are we talking about this. But it's like, if you can tell a child early enough, you can save them from having to, you know, deal with.
And I thought that's what annoys me, is that, I mean, I was reading somewhere, like, statistically, most sexual abuse is of kids as well, and adults. It's always someone
from the family.
You know, from the family, and you know, we've had a conversation about all of this back home. Is that, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. So there's so much people in and out of your house, from you know, gate man, you know, laundry, tutors,
your cousins,
all sorts of people coming in and out of your house. And so it's like, if you haven't told your kids about boundaries and outsiders touching body parts, they wouldn't know something is wrong unless you've put that in them to be open with you when something like that happens.
A 7-year-old is not walking around thinking,
I need to protect my body. No, you're playful. You're just
living your life. And so it's for me, it's become imperative to kind of have that type of relationship as well, in that even if I failed to let my child know that I create an environment where, God forbid, something happens, they can come and tell me, because that's the other wound that is so hard to deal with. Is, yes, you've been hurt, yes, you've been violated, yes, you know, all that's happened to you, but then the world becomes so small when you learn that this has happened to you and you don't have nobody else to talk to. Because I'm all for, like, abusers need to be caught and locked up. Like, that's me. Like, if you can tell somebody about your abuser, so we can just get them in that jail cell quick, another one off the street, amazing. It's almost like, and I hate to be that stereotypical, like, victim, it's almost like I feel bad for him. I feel bad because he's in that village, he's hungry, he's asked me for money sometimes. You know, he's just there. There is no, being in Africa and being poor is bad enough, and then to be in Africa and be in jail is another story. There's also the aspect of, I've left it so long.
I don't think there's a
20
time
plus
limit.
But what proof?
this is the thing. Most of us that's been through sexual assault, it's like even if you're in a party and you're drunk on a toilet seat and a guy comes in, there's no way to prove that.
There's no proof.
There's no proof. You can't. I don't feel sexual assault is something that's pre-planned on your part and the victim's part. So there's no way to prove that. And because of that is why so many cases get thrown out even before going to CPS.
Even before, even before people don't even want to open their mouth, because actually it's like, to get asked to prove that somebody's violated you it's just like how do I? It's double hell. You know,
and not all cases are like a full-on, like not all cases leave evidence like how you were bleeding when you were a child. Not all cases happen like that. Sometimes you can't prove molestation. Molestation is just like touching or whatever. But I want to go back to when you said you know, you're not the average victim in terms of like you feel sorry for him. I kind of understand that, because for me, I feel like people that do go to that extent to either rape or physically, sexually abuse someone, I feel like it's happened to them. I feel it's happened to them. You know, it's just like, look at people like R. Kelly, where I just always know that for you to do that, especially and I don't think, like you said, he put his arms around your sister. I don't think you would have been his first and only.
No. I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
You know, offense. So I feel like it's a pattern they've picked up. It's been done to them, so they think it's okay. Even though when they're an adult, they know it's wrong. They just follow that.
They just follow it. And when they get away with it as well, then they, you know, and I shudder to think, because I didn't speak, that somebody else after me, after I came to this country, would have had to.
I mean, you were a child. You didn't know what you could have really put pen to paper.
I didn't know I was even going through that. I didn't know I was going through that until I think 12. You know. And
I thought even as an adult, even if you don't speak up, everyone has their own way of dealing with the aftermath of sexual abuse. Like, you can't control. Some people are vocal about it. They become advocates. Some they will never speak about it in their lifetime.
So just going back to therapy, I think the first time I ever spoke those words out of my mouth was therapy. And that was probably the first time that I felt like a weight. It didn't sound like such lifted. Yes, it was horrible, but I think I had been holding on to it for so long that it was literally restricting my breathing. Like, and so when I finally let it out, and this guy, my therapist, was just like, okay. Like, you know how therapists are, when they kind of take in what you're saying and just allow you to kind of breathe through it. So yeah, I did eventually tell my mother in my mid-20s. Okay, and I didn't tell her because I felt like she was the right person to tell. I didn't tell her because I thought that I was necessarily in a safe space. I told her because I was desperate. I was desperate because I felt like I was in a part of my life where I was like, maybe this is what it is. But the therapist has kind of rooted it back to, you know, some of this. So maybe I need to just get this off my chest, and then I can move on. Step. Yeah, this is the next step. So let me do it. And I remember telling her, and it was actually at a time where me and her were not gelling. But again, it was just like, okay, if I'm gonna try and mend this relationship, let me open up to her a bit. Maybe we can get past this. And I remember telling her.
What was her response like?
She was like,
I'm scared.
She was just like,
because I just know something. Just don't say the right things.
Yeah, I just don't think she had the capacity to deal with that type of news. Long story short, it was that conversation and never again. There was nothing. If she went out to do her own research, if she went out to confront, if she went out to seek advice, help, if she went out to find the person, I don't know. Because there was never any type of...
Any sort of dialogue to be like, yeah.
You know, it's like I gave her, I mean, she said to me, so at the time I told her I didn't know who it was because I didn't want to mention that person. And she was like, so you don't remember who it was? And I was like, no, but he's on Dad's side of the family. And she was like, okay. And that was it. So there was never any rechecking in. Do you want to do this about it? What do you want to? So, you know, do you remember anything? There was nothing like that. And then I kind of was like,
You went back.
I was just like, should I have told anybody that, you know, that does it make any difference? What difference did it make me telling somebody, you know, so far ahead? And
I feel
so many years later.
Because you didn't really get much feedback from her, you feel like it was completely useless. But I feel that it's still part of your release, even though you had already prior released it to therapy. I still feel it was part of your release. And sometimes some African parents are like that. You will tell them something, and I thought because of the trauma or shock about this is what their child has experienced, or just the ignorance surrounding how they deal with sexual abuse anyway, they might deal with it behind closed doors in terms of going to the guy and going to confront it, but they don't put the kids' mind at peace.
I didn't get any feedback. I didn't hear anything.
And I feel like that's where we need to break that. Like, if your child comes to you to tell you that kind of news, you need to be like, well, there needs to be a conversation.
You need to allow, because when you're in that moment trying to tell your mum that you've been raped as a child, and that's exactly what it was, and you know, it gets worse when it's like, and it was this family member, and you're almost hoping for like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Do you know something? You're not gonna say, but you almost want something to come of it. You almost want to feel free from it. You almost want to feel like now she knows it's gonna be okay.
Yes.
Now you know. And
like
I
it's
think
a burden lifted off
it really is, and I just think because it had impacted so much of everything, including my relationship with her and whatnot, that me telling you meant that you could see why I am who I am, and then we could hopefully have and it didn't do that. It didn't, you know. So I kind of just went back to this being something that I'm gonna take it to the grave. This is, you know, this happened to me, fuck it, let me get over it, you know. Everyone's got like a cross to carry in this lifetime. That's mine. Let me get over it. You know, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, this doesn't have to be something that I suffer from. It can be something that I grow from, basically.
Because I feel what's scary about experiencing things like this is you do feel alone because it's just such a disgusting experience. But what's even scarier to me is when I have conversations with other women about it, and just how common sexual assault is. It's just, it scares me how common it is. Yeah. Because I'm like,
it's too common.
I need to be constantly vigilant when I have a child. And it's common with boys and girls, young boys and girls.
It's
back
too common
home, here, everywhere.
It's too common for it to be so silent a topic. It's too common for us to make it a taboo. It's too common for us to not be able to grab a seat with our children and say, hey, this, I don't care if it's your dad, your uncle, your nan, if this person touches you here, there, and there, you need to tell them ASAP, stop. You need to tell your mum. You need to you need to report that person to somebody. And we can't wait until we're of this age to start having this conversation.
It's already too late.
At all.
You know, and I feel part of the reason why kids, adults don't speak up is because part of it is they're scared of being blamed, or the fact that I feel they're ashamed. They're ashamed that I must have caused for something this bad to happen to me. I must have had some part to play in it. And that's where you hear, you know, well, maybe the way you were dressing or this, but you were a kid.
But as a child, how is it that you're dressing? How can we put the blame on a 7-year-old and how they dress to
how
a
do we shift it back to an abuse?
Man who's very, very aware. So for me, there was quite a bit of shame, even in my, because you just, I think back and I think about, you know, when it happened, I was like, I kept walking to that gate, to that man when he called me. So it's like, if I tell somebody, they're gonna be like, well, why did you keep walking? You know, if that's what he was doing to you, why did you keep walking? And I always felt like the people that I can tell, are they gonna be that ignorant? Are they gonna, you know, I felt like that's how they were gonna question me. It was like, if he was doing such a bad thing to you, why did you keep...
And plus he might have presented himself like a father figure. There's so many different reasons for why. It's nothing to do with you. It was
nothing other than the fact that that's family.
That's family,
And like you said, it takes a village. And honestly, there's nowhere in that village that I can't turn left and somebody doesn't know who I am. Everyone knows each other. We're all family. So you know, it wasn't weird. My auntie can take me to the market, this person, that it wasn't weird for me to cross the road to go to my father's side of the family. That's, you know, I was the child from the abroad. I was the only one in our family. All my other cousins and that, they had their mums and dads around. So it wasn't weird that people would, you know, take me to trips with them and whatever else. We need to, there's so much work to be done to help victims, survivors, you know, understand that it's never their fault. It doesn't matter what they've, and especially when it comes to kids, like you can't ever, you know, they can't ever be anything that a child will do that
to warrant,
you know,
that.
to warrant that at all. To warrant that at all.
And do you feel like there's signs?
100%.
That you could.
100%. I think before I even started, like the time that I even started bleeding, before then, there was...
Should have been a massive
red flags. There was loads, my behaviour had changed. Like, why all of a sudden can this man come to the gate and collect me every single day? Yes, it's not weird for a family member to, you know, take me, go buy me a sweet here, but yeah, why every single time is this person coming to the gate to come and collect this little girl? Yeah. But I just think it just got lost in that family dynamic because there was so many kids there and there was so many people in that household. My grandmother was not, you know, she was not making that pattern, and it wasn't always her there. There was the house girl most of the time.
Was she extremely busy, your grandma?
Yeah, she was. A bag of grandkids in that house, you know, all of us, our parents were either abroad or, you know, they didn't live close. So there was no way she just didn't make the pattern, and she didn't see it. And before they could even go to that, because that's the worst of the worst things you can think. So before they would have guessed that, they've already thought, oh, the girl that I play with has done something to me. It must be, you know, juju. I must have some mystery illness. They just don't know. That's all it was. They had doctors prodding and like the first hospital appointment I went to when I was here, and my mum's very, very aware, and to this day I still haven't asked what they did to me down there. I really don't know. I don't know if I can't remember what it was. I just remember I've been put under once, so I've been put to sleep, but they've done something. I still don't know what it was because I haven't had the conversation. Even when I broke it to my mum, I said, listen, she was like, I said, did you not know? She said, no, we never knew. And I was like, how can you not know? Because they told you I was bleeding. Yeah. You know, like what the hell did you think that was? That was happening, a 6-7-year-old bleeding from the vagina. That's not a small thing, you know. It's not a cut, it's not a bruise. Like, did you not look into? And she was like, oh, you know, they told us that this girl put something up there, and it's just so much ignorance. So much ignorance.
And just like accountability as well.
And then I just feel like, you know, it's like you failed the child. You failed me as a child, because it was kind of you lot's responsibility to protect and to look into what that was, to look into why that was happening. But like I said, it's the worst and last thing you think of. You don't think it's because she's been abused, you know, by this person. They had every other excuse, every other reason. I'm so glad,
like now, like our generation, we have so much awareness, where, not saying it would eradicate like sexual abuse in kids, but we just have so much awareness in terms of like boundaries, kids understanding their body parts, and just, I feel like it has to do with being vigilant as well. Like that's why I asked you, was your grandma extremely busy? Because
she was,
busy, too busy to notice this man's coming every day to pick up Jess. To collect this child. What do you, no matter how friendly you are, what is it you want?
Family, what is it? You know. And like I say, it's helped me, and I don't want to say that, like I said, it's a cross that I've carried, but for me, it's helped me, you know, do what I need to do as a mother. I'm very, very, what's the word? Proactive.
Hands-on,
in how I deal with my child, and he's a boy as well, and I think it's a little bit different when it's with boys. You know. But I've had to definitely, one, teach him about not touching other people. And then teach him about other people touching him. And it's not a conversation that you can kind of dilly-dally around it. I had to be very, very straight with him. Don't let nobody touch you. Don't touch nobody that doesn't ask to be touched. You know, and that's
keep your hands to yourself.
Keep your hands to yourself, and that's the most education you can kind of pass on.
And if anything happens, to know that to always tell
I'm here,
yeah.
that you can come and tell me, you know, that this is not something that you don't need to eat that up inside you. You don't need to carry that on your own. You need to speak to somebody.
So people that have dealt with, I mean, because I've dealt with some form of sexual assault abuse, but not as a child. As a child, I mean, as a child, yeah, I remember this paedophile was in a park and like trying to touch the girls, like, you know, we wear summer dress. I think I've spoken about this before, but my nanny, I had a white nanny, and she called the police immediately.
Right.
And I thought because of her reaction, my mum's reaction probably would have been more laid back, like, oh my God, what the hell, blah, blah, and we would have moved on. But because I thought she was white, she called the police and she took it more seriously. So growing up, I would always have, you know, in the back of my mind, that's the first thing I would do to report. Yeah. So for people that have gone through this as a child, like, what's the next step? How do they get over? You said therapy was your release.
I don't think it's not something that I'm ever gonna get over.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even about getting over. It's just about getting past it enough to cope. To just live your life and to not let it take a hold on you, because if this person was no longer with us and they had sent it into heaven and you know, I think it would be less trauma almost, I think. But because this person is still very much here, and that my dad's side of the family, my dad doesn't know, and so this person is in the house.
Around your family, it does
in the
something,
house. So when I go back, I don't even go there anymore. I don't even bother. I'm not going to go to that part of the family. They can't see much. You know, I wouldn't take Jard there and whatever else. So it's still such a journey for me. It's still such a journey, you know. And so it's not something that you get over. I think I've just had to build up coping mechanisms.
To deal with,
If I see a trigger, and there are triggers everywhere.
Especially social media.
God,
I mean, even some of the
day.
stories we saw and we've sent each other, like, I'm like, imagine like being a girl and one of your abusers is like a famous rapper.
That's it,
or someone in the UK that's popping, and you're having to see them on your time, and that must be so triggering.
It's crazy.
That must be so triggering to always see that in front of you.
It's crazy.
And that's what I mean by learn how to cope. Obviously, therapy is...
therapy is just the beginning, though.
Yeah,
it's not. And the thing is, your therapist is never going to give you answers. They're going to hear you out, but they can't.
They can't give you answers.
You have to do that work yourself, and you have to be very, very conscious about taking it into your own hands. And it's mad, because you're the one that's, you know, the victim, and then you're the one that's having to do all this work whilst the abuser's walking around free and living their life. And again, they've gotten in their head, they've gotten away with it, and they're walking. Would I love to one day just walk up to him and say, I know what you know, I do remember exactly what you've done, I know what you've done, and he probably lose sleep for the rest of his life, because that would shake him the F up.
Core,
But right now, where my energy is to make sure that I'm good. Make sure that I'm good, because I can only control what I do and who I am. I've kind of forgotten about trying to fuck him up, is what I wanted to do years back, and ruin his life, and, you know, get him in trouble and get him locked up. But I've just kind of internalized that energy, and I'm just going to use that to kind of work on myself. Moving forward.
I don't think you will never really get over something that traumatic, you know. I remember my friend telling me, like, a story about one of her family members going through something like this, and I recall she was like, you know, as when we were younger, you know, she was always kind of fast, and I always get worried when people tell me kids are fast, because it's not a kid's natural.
No, it's not.
Habitat is that word? It's not a kid's natural instinct to be fast, and what is fast. And that's always, for me, a red flag.
It doesn't even sit well when you say that, like, kids are fast.
And that's always a red flag to me, that, you know, a kid has been through some sort of sexual assault.
And that when you talk about signs, I think that's one of them. And we talk about signs as a child, when you know, signs to look out for when a child is being abused. They become they do one or two things. They become reclusive. So they stop coming close to you. They have this little secret that they keep in between them and the abuser. And so it's almost like they don't want to come near you. They don't want to share it. And then you have kids that then they start acting fast. For instance. And then in the adult stage of things, it's like when they talk about sexual abuse leading to hypersexualized. I can't remember what the word is.
You're hypersexualized.
Right.
You know, you don't really see sex as anything.
Right. And I went through that phase. Lucky enough, when I was in uni and around the age where I really could have been that person, I was in the relationships, so I didn't really get that you know, the space to go and have my whole phase basically during that time. But what I did find is that after that relationship was done, and you know, before therapy, is that and I started getting those flashbacks and things like that. I really didn't care. You feel worthless, is what you feel like when you. The moment you realize that this has happened to you, you just feel like
it's like you're trying to. It's like a struggle of
it's a struggle of how can I take back my power, and that's what it is. You feel absolutely like shit, like, you know, what they're like, your body is not even yours anymore. And up until the time that before the time that I realized that that I clocked and I watched that show and I realized that this has happened to me, I was okay. I would be like, that memory, okay, whatever. But it was in the back of my mind. And then when it came to the forefront, my life just scattered. You know, my behavior scattered, my personality scattered, and I fought with my body for so many years. You know, like when you're growing up, and you know, you have your little girl sleepovers and whatever. I remember in secondary school we had a geography trip, and all the girls were talking about how they lost their virginity and all of that. And it was like, you know, Jermaine down, you know, Southeast London, and I was just like listening, and then they got to me and I was like, oh, like my story don't sound like I was literally like, wait, I can't even share that. You know, I had to lie because you can't come and say, oh yeah, I was taken advantage of by a man that's 4 or 5 times my age, whatever. And it's those moments that it triggers, like you feel the worst because you're just like, I'm just so not normal. Like this is so wrong, and it just feels every time things like that happen, and you know, it's trivial, but it just feels like a punch in the gut. Every single time that you're reminded about that you just didn't get a fair start, like you know, you was violated, you was you know, wronged.
Having to tell that story.
Always
bring you back to that moment.
So I was hated those type of getting together and doing the girls chat, because you know it would always lead to sex, and you'd always have to share your, you know, your, at the time the obsession was, oh, how did you break your virginity? So I just avoided those conversations.
And it's so crazy because it's not until I went to live back home a bit that I've realised, like I told you, how common it is. Where I also know a few women that have gone through the same thing, and it's a family member that took their virginity. Well, for me, it's crazy. And you're stealing so much from that child. You're taking so much from that child. It is not just the act, it is their life. And I know you didn't try and talk about it till later, obviously because you were really young, but for people that it does happen to and have actually, you know, try to confront their issue, confront their abuser and tell their parents, they're not really taken seriously. No. You know, even as an adult, they're not taken, you know, their mum's like, well, why didn't you tell me this years ago, or why didn't you do this? And I just feel like I feel that's probably more triggering than the actual act itself. It is, and that's partly why, even as an adult, I don't see how I can go and say, you know, this person did this to me. I could tell my dad right now, and I know that would spin him. I know that would ruin him. I know that would devastate him. But then it's like, would he do anything about it? How do I prove? How I need to be able to show him or prove something to him. I mean, as his daughter, I'm sure he's going to be like, he believes me. But then the conflict is that that's his family as well. You know, it might not be his child, but I just feel like you don't know if you're going to be believed. How you relate. I feel like you should know how you raise your kids. Like, I don't care if it's my brother. I have a brother, and I don't care if it's my male cousins. If my child ever comes up to me to tell me so and so touched me, I'm believing my kid. 100%. I'm believing my kid, because, and that's what I'm saying. We as minorities, I feel like we don't even take ourselves serious. We don't give each other the grace that we need. So then how is, of course, so how would we come here to this country and expect white male officers to take our cases seriously? And I thought that's why a lot of our cases get dropped, because it's like, we're not taken seriously.
You already feel like because of who you are, you're gonna go and tell your problems to this white man. Again, don't come for me. This white man at the police station, and they're not gonna believe you because we haven't been believed in our households. We've been challenged. You know, historically we've been challenged when we brought up these issues. So it's a blockage.
And I was shocked to learn, like, when I reported mine, one of the first questions was, do I have evidence as an adult? And do I have evidence? And was there any cameras? And you know, it's like his word against mine.
Because you're expected to carry a camera when you're being...
And I was so shocked because even the process of the whole thing, it took about, 6-7 months?
Right.
And I was like, even if you did want evidence, how do you get evidence
within
when
that
you've
span?
delayed it to almost half a year?
Yeah.
And I thought that's what's so heartbreaking for women, that they get no support, you know, they get no justice, and then they're left with all of that. And when you're dealing through reporting a situation, you're always reliving those moments. Right. And you don't, some people don't want to have to go through that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
you're having to relive something that it would be the hope that would be the first and last time ever, you know. And again, it took me a whole lot to say it to my mum, and then to go and have to say it to another person and try and convince them, or start that whole, because it's a storm you're starting.
I still rate that you did. I thought, because for me, if you asked me, what would I tell someone else to do if they've gone through that? It would never ever be to keep silent.
Me either.
I feel like even if that person is not going to help your closure, I feel like the end of the story. If you feel like reporting it on social media is the way to do it, I feel do that. I feel that's part of your therapy.
I'm the same. I feel like if social media polices what's going to handle that person, do it. Like, because we need to shift, like you said, we need to shift the energy from the victim
to the abuser. Like, why
they need to lose
the
same sleep. They need to, go through something.
Feel the same shame.
Yeah. So how do we move forward?
If it's happened to you mean?
Yeah.
I'll definitely say, not everyone can afford therapy, but I'll definitely say therapy, or someone you confide in. You can confide in. For me, it's about trusting, because you can't. Therapy for me allows you to open your story without shame, whereas your friend, you might hide particular details, like you said, because you don't want them to know.
That's it.
The bits and everything. But I feel like with a therapist, that's a stranger. It's never going to get back to you. Right. Even if it's just to release that small burden you're carrying, I feel like that's helpful, confiding in someone. Or it's just, if you feel confronting the abuser, shaming the abuser, I feel if that little bit of exposing, should I say, is helping you, is going to help you sleep better at night, I think you should do it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and I think everyone deals with their healing differently, so I'm all for whatever will help you heal.
Yeah.
And again, if first of all, I would encourage wherever to speak to somebody and anybody, because you won't know until you have burnt so many bridges and you've ruined so many relationships that this thing was always
the issue.
Even though I thought, I'm not in that country no more, let him just live his life. It still
followed you,
It followed me. It didn't matter what situation, what relationship, what country I was in, it followed me. Yeah. And it kept following me, and it kept pushing me and tapping me on the shoulder until I acknowledged it. Yeah. So I would say, definitely
and
speak
there's
to
specialized therapy.
Yeah.
There's specialized therapy around sexual violence and sexual assault. So I feel that's the main thing that would help me. Yeah. And not everyone can confront their abuser. Not everyone knows where to find their abuser. Yeah.
And I just want to touch on one thing quickly, is when it comes to the kids, you have to be a proactive parent. You have to be a proactive. You have to proactively be protective of your children. It's not to take action once something's happened, but we need to you know, do it before it gets to that point. So as a parent, I just want to just say that you need to be careful, one, who you take your kids around.
And keep your eyes open.
Keep your eyes open.
I mean, sometimes in our household, we had uncle, I'm sure you can probably relate, some of those uncles that hug you a bit too tight.
They'll be squeezing you
or saying, oh, come and sit on my lap. I'm very aware of those things. I would, like, and
you can't pick up my child and let him.
My mum was as well to those kind of uncles. Like, she used to be like, oh, go upstairs, go play with your PlayStation upstairs, when those specific type of uncles came to visit.
And that in itself is weird, because those type of specific uncles shouldn't be. You know what I mean?
They shouldn't be visiting.
There shouldn't be a thing about those type of uncles. You know?
They shouldn't be.
But yeah, so just to say that, give your children the space to, one, be able to come to you and tell you if something happens. But before we get there, we need to be having conversations with our kids. It's a difficult conversation, and there's all types of resources about how to talk to your kids about these things. So do so at a young age, and then you kind of give them the information slowly as they grow up. And I think that's the best way that, you know, it's the boundaries and consent. Conversation. The birds and the bees conversation is there to be had all throughout school, but what we don't talk about is boundaries and consent, and I think
I don't think it's school's responsibility to teach your kids that. It's your responsibility.
You need to get in there way before they get told you know, whatever version in school. So girl, that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
No, I think it's good.
I feel like you must have done a lot of work and shadow work to be able to speak about this now. Yeah, I think that like everything else we do on here, this is just all part and parcel of the healing process. And I would not be able to have this conversation with a straight face and full face of makeup if I had not done the work. So again, like everything else, I'm just hoping that this is going to bless somebody, help somebody, heal somebody. To tell their own story. Instead of keeping it inside. And just remember, it's always better to get it out than keep it in, and then using other things or substances to get over what's already inside, making the issue even worse, to get it out. So
thanks for listening, girl.
Till next time.
Bye. So thank you guys for watching this very special episode of the Taboo Table.
Thank you for tuning in. I know this episode was very heavy, but we're hoping that, you know, it's helping everyone with a similar story to Jess's.
It's my hope that this is gonna reach the right people and bring the type of healing that, you know, you need, and if not, at least kickstart a journey to you know, find the healing that you need.
100%.
So in the description box below, we're gonna put some information down for anybody who needs any type of support with issues related to the topic today.
And who to contact.
There are so many, you know, support services and so many resources, and there's just too many for you to kind of just sit alone and, you know, deal with this alone. So please, 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 if you do need the help, have a look in the description box, and we will put all the details below.
And also, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. Bye.